Good morning. Welcome to People's Church, both for those here in the sanctuary and of those joining online. If you are at home, now would be a good time to get a candle to use as your chalice, as we do. My name is Jim Federer. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am your worship associate today. I am joined in leading the hymns with our minister, Reverend Carin Bringelson, and also with, of course, Judy Michelin on our piano. We all invite you to sing all of the hymns with us today, all three. Our special musicians today are Pete Keys, on your far right, Deb Hunnemuller, middle, and Dave Wallace. All people of goodwill are welcome here at People's. As an official, welcoming congregation, we celebrate and honor your gender expression and sexual orientation, as well as your race, income level, disabilities, religious experiences, and age, and even more. We accept you exactly as you are and are happy that you are with us today. A special welcome goes out to any newcomers that are worshiping here in person. You are invited to fill out a green card, which is in the pew rack right there in front of you, and place it in the offering plate when it gets passed later. Please join us after service downstairs in our church for treats and coffee and pleasant conversation. And if you're a newcomer online who would like more information, please contact the church office to be added to our mailing list. You are also welcome, if you're online today, to chat with us on Zoom following the worship today. Finally, we extend a great big thank you to the many people who make today's service possible. We especially give thanks to Jackie Wedeking for running the internet outreach, and to Bill Hart for the sound system, and to our greeters today, I think it's Joel and Jim Wasta, and all of those are in the back there, in the back of the sanctuary. And also, we can't forget our downstairs kitchen crew that's headed up by Jill Jones. With a sense of gratefulness for one another and for this time together, let us now become present in this sacred place. This sacred space with a moment of stillness, a moment that will begin and end with the ringing of our singing bowl.
Oh, a smile is a beautiful thing. It can happen over most anything. On the face of a child or a friend of mine, over kindness and love or a bottle of wine. No better way of reaching out to touch someone when you're in doubt, or right ahead. Kids have always known in a foreign land or in your home. Go right ahead, you won't go wrong. It's as simple as a bobolink song. Well, some will lead you astray, but the truth, it isn't far away. Go right ahead and you won't go wrong. It's as simple as a bobolink song. Well, some will lead you astray, but the truth, it isn't far away. Oh, a smile is a beautiful thing. It can happen over most anything, on the face of a child or a friend of mine, over kindness and love, or a bottle of wine.
Thank you. A smile indeed. Lao Tzu is credited as saying, if there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. And if there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Come, let us prepare our hearts to make room for peace. Come, let us worship. As Jim lights our chalice this morning, I invite you at home to light your chalices and invite all of us to read aloud the chalice lighting words. As together we say, we light this chalice to honor our direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder. May these experiences open our hearts, renew our spirits, and transform our lives. Please join in speaking aloud the words of affirmation of this church. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you to lift your voices in song as we open with our gathering hymn, number 134, Our World is One World.
Affects us all, the seas that wash around about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world, the thoughts we think affect us all, the way we build our attitudes with love or hate we make, a bridge or wall. Our world is one world, in ways of wealth affect us all, the way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stands or falls. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
You may be seated, unless you are young and young at heart and want to come forward for a time for all ages with Ms. Julie. She has a very special book for you to hear from and learn from. And after you read the book, I want to talk to you about this map.
Wonderful. Hello.
Should we sit on that side so you can touch your letter? Go on ahead.
Our special book today is called Small Places Close to Home, a Children's Declaration of Rights, written by Deborah Hopkinson and illustrated by Kate Gardner. It's divided into 3 sections. The first one is me. I am part of my family. And the human family. I was born free and equal, like each and every other person in the world. I deserve to live in freedom in a just and peaceful place, and to be treated equally and fairly no matter what I look like. How I speak, dress, or wear my hair, who I love, or where I live. And it's up to me to respect the rights of others to do the same. I have the right to my own private thoughts. I'm free to choose what I think and believe, and it's up to me to listen and respect how others think and believe too. I have the right to my own body, and it's up to me to respect the bodies of others and act toward them with gentleness and goodwill. Next is my school and community. I have the right to learn and get an education, and the right to take part in activities at school and in my community. It's up to me to welcome and encourage others who wish to do the same. I have the right to feel safe wherever I go, at home, at school, in my town or city, on ball fields, beaches, and busy streets, or on wild and quiet mountain paths. And it's up to me to speak kind words and act toward others with an open and generous heart. Next is my country and world. I have the right to be an equal person under the laws of our land. I have the right to belong to a country. If my family and I are treated unfairly or persecuted, I have the right to seek safety. It's up to me to stand up for the rights of others who need protection. I have the right to gather with others in a peaceful manner to express my ideas, my opinions, my anger, and my desire and action for change. And it's up to me to truly hear the voices and stories of others. I have the right to peace in a world where all human beings, as well as animals, birds, insects, fish, plants, trees, are all treasured. I have the right to live on earth and to work with others to restore and care for our planet and its wondrous mountains, wildlands, rivers, and seas. I have the right to dream of what I want to do in this world to make life better for all living things. These are my rights. These are our rights. Wherever we go in this vast, wide world and in small places close to home.
Thank you, Ms. Julie. So can you come around and look at this map with me? And does anyone know what this is a map of? It's a map of hearts, yes. It's a map of the world. So there are hearts on this world. Can someone count how many hearts we have? Go ahead, come, y'all can come up. Come look. 12, we have 12 hearts. These are places on the map that need some extra love. They are having a hard time where they are. I included our country because not maybe as violent as some places, but we do have conflicts in our country as well. And I need people to take a heart and color it and put some love into that heart and put some peace and joy and hope into that heart. And then when we do the candles, I'm gonna need you to bring it back up and put it where you found it, okay? So come find a heart so that you can take with you back to color. Or maybe you have 2 hearts. Yeah, it has the name of the place on it, so you know where to look. That's where it goes when you're done coloring it. And if you could take some extras for the people, and I see someone here who wants one. Yep. Yeah, do you want to take a couple? Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much. Okay, you can go back and sit down and work on your coloring. Yes, thank you.
Our first reading is number 578 in our Living Tradition hymnal. I invite you to follow along with us if you wish. 578. But this reading requires an introduction. Unitarian Universalist congregations covenant with one another to affirm and promote specific principles and values, including justice, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and interdependence. Ours is a living tradition of wisdom and spirituality that is drawn from sources as diverse as scripture from the world's religions, science, poetry, direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder. The reading is, like I said, number 578. It was written by Olympia Brown, who was the first woman to be ordained in the Universalist Church in 1863. It's entitled, "This Great Lesson." Reverend Brown writes the following: "We can never make the world safe by fighting. Every nation must learn that the people of all nations are children of God and must share the wealth of the world. You may say this is impracticable, far away, can never be accomplished, but it is the work we are appointed to do. Sometime, somehow, somewhere, we must ever teach this great lesson." Here ends the reading. Now, we will sing hymn number 155, "Circle Round for Freedom." And please rise in body and spirit to sing together. 155. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for so
Be seated.
Reading number 2. I invite you to turn to number 579, this time in the same hymnal. And it's the one right after, or almost on the same page as the reading we just had. Now, this reading comes from someone who, like Reverend Olympia Brown, was alive in the mid-1800s. That is, the abolitionist and orator Frederick Douglass. It is a responsive reading, and so I'll read the plain text while you join Reverend Carin and everybody, of course, to read in the italicized words. It's entitled, "The Limits of Tyrants," number 579. I'll start. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are people who want crops without plowing up the ground.
They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its waters.
This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be both, a moral and physical one, but it must be a struggle.
Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will.
Find out what people will submit to, and you have found out the exact amount of injustice which will be imposed upon them.
The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress.
Here ends the reading.
This week, I was talking with my longtime friend Susan about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that has dominated the headlines recently. Those headlines just keep coming. I turned to her because she has a lot of experience with holding the both and nuances of complicated situations. You see, Susan is a justice-seeking, bridge-building Presbyterian minister who is married to a Jewish man. Together, they raised their children to be fluent in both faith traditions. Susan is pointed in her criticism of current world leaders and in the role that the international community has played in creating and benefiting from the current conflict. Susan is also compassionate about the heart-wrenching loss and traumas. In addition to her knowledge and experience, I appreciate her willingness to sit in the discomfort with me. During our conversation, I confessed to Susan that I often get itchy when I hear someone claim that they have the answer to the world's problems. You see, I don't really believe there's a single answer or a definitively correct one right way. There are a lot of different paths to engaging with conundrums. There are a lot of partial solutions, none of them completely satisfying to anyone. In other words, it's complicated and it's uncomfortable. The discomfort of not having the perfect answer is apparent in the larger Unitarian Universalist community as well. UU Muslims and UU Jews are taking sides, staking claims, and speaking up for what they believe to be right. The UU minister, the Reverend Dan Schatz, spoke to the carefulness that is needed in order to deal with such complexity and discomfort. He posted these reflections last month. We live in an era in which both Islamophobia and anti-Semitism are burgeoning. This was true before the events of the last month, and it remains true. Many people have legitimate reason to feel attacked and afraid. And so, he reminds us, the way we express our care for one another and our demands for justice can either alleviate or exacerbate the situation. He then goes on to remind us that there are multiple layers of history and hurt tied up with these issues, including the positions of both Jewish and Palestinian peoples after World War II. That history and the dynamics of privilege, race, and religion may be perceived very differently depending on one's lens. There is a risk of conflating the injustices of the settler movement with the existence of Israel itself, confusing the anti-Semitism of Hamas with the current outrage expressed on behalf of the people of Gaza. These issues are complicated and hard, and few of us understand them all. What are we to do with these complexities on this day? This day, which is called the Human Rights Day. Every year on December 10th, the United Nations honors the adoption and proclamation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is what we heard in that story. That book that Julie read was inspired by this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was 75 years ago that this declaration was first made, and it was the very first global enunciation of human rights, and one of the first major accomplishments of that new organization called the United Nations. We might ask the question, well, what are the ways we might advocate for human rights? Now, even before the United Nations existed, Olympia Brown and Frederick Douglass were advocating for human rights in their own ways. By pairing the writings of these two social change advocates together, the phrase peace with justice begins to emerge. Brown provides the peace part when she declares that we can never make the world safe by fighting. And every nation must learn that the people of all nations are children of God. And Douglass provides the with justice part when he declares, and I'm paraphrasing here, that freedom requires agitation and struggle because power concedes nothing without a demand. Those who are oppressed must resist the injustices opposed upon them. He is calling for justice through the hard work of resistance. This call for peace with justice was invoked just last month when the president of our Unitarian Universalist Association, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Bentoncourt, joined religious leaders from a variety of faith traditions in sending a letter to President Biden. Dated November 13th, the letter called for an immediate ceasefire and return of hostages, de-escalation, and restraint by all involved in the violence between Hamas and Israel. Listen to this last paragraph of their letter. Peace with justice is the only lasting solution that will protect the long-term security and sustainability of the state of Israel and the self-determination and independence of Palestinians. The United States must demonstrate its commitment to the protection of all human life, advocating for a just and durable resolution to this crisis in which all Israelis and Palestinians might realize a vision of a just peace, illuminating human dignity, advancing security and self-determination for all. Such letter writing is one way to advocate for human rights. We can raise our voices and side with love by writing letters that call for peace with justice. The United Nations itself offers yet another tool to help us advocate for human rights. The United Nations Office on the High Commission of Human Rights has created something called the Human Rights Pledge. You'll see it printed in your order of service, and it's also on the screen in front of you. And it makes me wonder, What if we were to actually incorporate these behavioral aspirations into our daily lives? Do you want to read it with me? I will respect your rights regardless of who you are. I will uphold your rights even when I disagree with you. When anyone's human rights are denied, everyone's rights are undermined. So I will stand up. I will raise my voice. I will take action. I will use my rights to stand up for your rights. How does that land for you? Is that like a thumbs up, easy peasy, or a thumbs down, that sounds too hard, or somewhere in between? Or maybe I see some ups and downs. It's always changing, right? I also wonder, what might this human rights pledge look like in practice? Let's explore with an example of people coming together to live in peace with justice. This story comes from the Rabbi Dana Ruttenberg, who is the author of our Common Read this year. You might know that name because of that. She's written a series of blog posts that intentionally disrupt the binary narratives around Israel and Palestine. In her post, she reminds readers that there have been people working towards a more whole vision for the future for a very long time. The story she tells is set in the academic year of 2015-2016, when she and her family spent the year in Jerusalem. During that year, she sent 2 of her kids to the Max Rain Hand in Hand School. It is one of 6 bilingual schools around the country of Israel dedicated to creating a shared society of Jews and Palestinians. Each classroom has 2 teachers. For example, in the first grade class, Jinia taught all the kids Hebrew, Serene taught all of them Arabic, and they co-taught other subjects like math and science. Each class had an equal number of Jewish and Palestinian kids, and even the principal's job was held by 2 people who divide the responsibilities by grade level. Rabbi Ruttenberg describes the transformative power of daily activities when she writes, "My eldest's primary interactions with his Palestinian friends were as mundane as one would hope, centering around questions like, who's going to play goalie at recess? Do you have a pencil I can borrow? Do you want to see the comic I just got?" Bonds are forged and thickened through a million small interactions, through connecting as kids first, as it always should be. It sounds trite, she continues, but in a country still working to face the moral truth of occupation, in which the polarization is constant, racism rampant, and in which there is little trust on all sides, this matters. But the school succeeds not by pretending that difference doesn't exist, but by naming it and putting it in an appropriate context. In addition to learning to read, speak, and write each other's languages, the kids learn to honor each other's holidays and histories and narratives. She talks about how some of it was easy and sweet, like the communal bonfire for a Jewish holiday, or that joint Christmas Hanukkah concert, complete with 4-year-olds singing jingle bells in Arabic, and the iftar during Ramadan. But they faced the hard stuff too. For example, in the weeks leading up to Israeli Independence Day, the first graders learned not only the Jewish perspective on the founding of the state, but the Nakba, which means disaster, referencing the Palestinians' loss of their homes during the 1948 war. In other words, they didn't hide from the fact of multiple realities. They simply named it, honored it, allowed true things to be true. When violence happened during that school year, the school's response to the horrific acts was to build community. They started having solidarity walks, Rabbi Ruttenberg explains. The invitation was to drop off your kid at school and then walk all together for a mile or two. Show up and get to know each other. They also had the older kids paint a massive banner that they hung from the school that said, "We will continue to live together." And they had gatherings of parents to talk about some of the hard issues, too, to make space for more than just superficial friendships, to do the necessary unpacking and trust building needed in long-haul work of creating real relationships and real solidarity. Rabbi Ruttenberg goes on a bit more about the school and the current politics when she admits that, of course, significant systemic inequalities between Jews and Palestinians persist. And the hand-in-hand schools are not immune to the ways in which Israeli society favors Jews. In a Hebrew-dominant culture, all the hand-in-hand kids wind up with stronger Hebrew than Arabic, just for example. Clearly, there is a desperate need for change. There is so much work yet to be done towards a more whole world. There are so many kinds of change that are needed. Building relationship takes practice every day. Excuse me. There are so many kinds of change that are needed, and we must look to those who already know how to teach kids that another world is possible. When she asked her eldest child, who is now a teenager, about what he remembers from his experience in first grade, he chuckled wryly. "I learned that some Jewish Israelis are nice and some are jerks. And I learned that some Palestinian kids are nice and some are jerks." Honestly, she concludes, that is so little and so much more than so many kids ever get. It's so basic and so fundamental. Everybody is people. And that kid was only there for 1 year. Just imagine if he had grown up in that community. Another world is possible, she writes. This story, this example of how we can learn that people are people, it inspires me. Change is possible. We can practice peace with justice in the world. Human rights can be advocated for. And so much of all of that starts with the hard work of building relationships. First with ourselves, and then with those in our lives. Building relationships takes practice every day. And so I invite you into a practice right now with me, based on the sentiments of that ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. So if you're willing and able, and if it feels right to you, just begin by noticing your body. Maybe put your hand on your heart and consider the invitation to practice peace in your own heart. Can you practice peace with justice with yourself? Treating yourself with kindness and respect? Can you extend compassion and understanding to yourself when you make mistakes, as all humans do? Now I invite you to move your focus to those people in your home. I'm going to change my hands to just be held close together. Your home can be either literal or metaphorically. They might be your friends or your family members, whether by choice or by birth. Can you practice peace with justice with them? Treating them with kindness and respect. Can you extend compassion and understanding to these friends and family members when they make mistakes, as all humans do? Next, I invite you to move your focus to those people in your school or workplace or where you move through the world. Maybe they are in your city or in your state, and I'm going to open my hands just a little wider. They might be people you agree with, but they might not be. Can you practice peace with justice with them? Treating them with kindness and respect? Can you extend compassion and understanding to these fellow students or coworkers or neighbors when they make mistakes, as all humans do? And finally, I invite you to move your focus to people who live all over the world and all over our country, extending your hands outward to consider that regardless of their stance on issues dear to you or the cultures from which they come, can you practice peace with justice with them? Treating them with kindness and respect? Can you extend compassion and understanding to these fellow human beings when they make mistakes, as all humans do? Okay, now take a deep breath and release it. That's a lot to hold. We've traveled all over the world. And dear ones, we know that there are no easy answers in life, that circumstances are complicated and nuanced. There's always another perspective to consider. There's always another oppression to resist and more injustices to challenge. There's always more peace with justice to practice. And there's also another truth. We have each other. We don't have to do this alone. Together, we can sit in the discomfort of the present moment, listening and learning and practicing peace with justice from the inside out. May it be so, and may we be so. Amen.
For our offertory, each week we participate as a community in the spiritual practice of generosity. By taking up an offering, we support the mission of People's Church, which is leading compassionate lives through spiritual growth and just action. There are 4 ways to give to that mission today. Number 1, you are in the sanctuary. There will be an offering plate being passed. You can mail a check to the church, donate online at our website, peoplesuu.org, or 4th, use the Vanco mobile app. And now, in a spirit of generosity and compassion, this morning's offering will now be gratefully given and lovingly received.
1, 2, 3, 4. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You can say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. Brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. But I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will live as one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will live as one.
Thank you. Thank you for your sharing of your talents. Thank you for your generosity of your financial gifts and for your precious time spent together. We now enter into a time of lighting candles as a way to name the complexities of our own lives. May our silent joys and sorrows be held by mystery, by a larger love, by this community. As Jim lights a candle in honor of all those places around the world that need a little extra love, I invite you to come forward down the center aisle and light a candle symbolizing your joy or concern or sorrow. And we as a community will bear witness to that. You can return to your seat by the side aisles. And if you have a heart to put back on the map, bring that up now. Please, you are invited forward. Please join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love and mystery of the universe, we give thanks for this day in all the ways that it challenges us and invites us to grow. We are mindful of the need for peace with justice around the world, and we send loving kindness to all those who are suffering. May our hearts remain open, so our hands may do the work of justice in this world. Amen, and blessed be. Our closing hymn today is number 388, Dona Nobis Pacem, which is Latin for grant us peace. So we're going to sing this through in unison one time. And there are 3 parts. So if you turn to number 388 in your hymnal, those of you who are here, you'll see that the 3 parts are listed with a 1, a 2, and a 3. And after we sing it through one time, Jen's going to start again on part 1. And then I'm going to invite Deb to sing part 2. Or do you want to do 3? Then I will sing part 2, kind of the center aisle can sing with me. And then part 3 we'll sing with Deb. And because we're doing this in and around, parts 1 and 2 will need to repeat the last phrase again and again until everyone catches up to be together. Okay? Let's rise in body and spirit and sing it through one time in unison before we break up into parts.
Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Nobis pacem, dona nobis pacem, dona nobis pacem, pacem, dona nobis pacem, Nobis pacem, dona 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 nobis pacem.
You may be seated.
Please join in our words to extinguish the chalice that Reverend Carin will do. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, or memories of ours. Together again.
enjoy the postlude I send you out with this benediction. Be open to the mystery and the wonder available to you in this moment. Be open to the love and the peace that is available to you in your heart. Take these with you out into your weeks, into the streets, into the places you travel, and share them with those you come across, knowing that you have enough and that you are enough. Blessed be, and go in peace after you enjoy this postlude.